Welcome to Health Talk with Dr. Kell. This is podcast number 27, and I'm here with Dr. Kell and producer Eric. Sorry, I took away your doctor title. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we're going to be discussing the interview that we did with Dr. Ingrid, your wife.
Yes, so happy to have her on the
on.
show. We let you interview her this time, right? It wasn't me.
Yay, I got to interview. It was
she was
so
a little
cool.
nervous, so
She
it was
did
better
great.
to get along with you, I think, than me.
Yes,
Husbands and wives.
I couldn't do it with my husband either, so I totally get it.
I think she was more relaxed, and she did a great job.
She did.
Yeah.
She's wonderful. So before we get into that, though, I wanted to do a quote, which is kind of funny, that we interviewed about emotions and how they affect your physical health. Because the quote is, "Fake it until you make it. Act as if you had all the confidence you require until it becomes your reality," by Brian Tracy.
We have a lot of Brian Tracy quotes here.
Yeah, we like Brian Tracy. So I was just saying before how I think this works in the business world. I think that you do fake it a lot of times. You put on that face, you put on that confidence, and you can do that.
Well, I like the quote, but I often wonder, are you really faking it? A lot of us have inside of us a lot of knowledge and information that sometimes we fail to recognize. And so
That's true.
putting forth your best self, it really isn't faking, but it is a form. It may not be the way you act in front of friends and family, and you recognize that you need to be a certain way when it comes to doing business and interacting with others under certain conditions. So I think your best self comes out, and that's
It's almost like you're telling yourself, stop believing those negative thoughts because you really are as good as you
yes.
are faking it, but it's not faking it like you're saying. It's true.
Yeah, and your emotions play such an important part in all aspects of your life, and they're affected by so many things. But Dr. Ingrid goes into all those things in the podcast and is very helpful to people to understand that emotions affect your health in many different ways.
Your physical health.
Physical health.
Yes, they do. Yeah, and we did go into that, and it was awesome. And I was just thinking this quote, "Fake it until you make it," that's cool at work, but at home, I don't think you can fake it. I think you have to feel your emotions, and you have to be real and be, vulnerable with your family members. And
it's not always a positive thing at home, right?
It's not. But I think you have to be honest, and you have to work through the tough times together.
Or you might say maybe you'll hope it ultimately turns out positive, but in sharing your real, true feelings and emotions with your friends and family, sometimes initial reactions can be negative, but
yes.
you hope the end result will be positive.
Yeah, it's hard working through emotions. It's hard.
It is, especially when they contradict with others.
Yes, and everybody has their own, past that they grew up different ways, and
holding those emotions in, right? You could talk about.
Yeah.
She talks about those things too, right?
Holding releasing them. Yeah.
You got to let them go. And so that because holding them in can affect you physically and can cause all kinds of, they're connecting more and more through the research that these emotions cause pain in the body. They cause diseases, or at least contribute to disorders and diseases.
Yeah.
And so it's important to take care of those and release those bad emotions.
Yeah, and then reprogram yourself with new beliefs and new pictures and, positive moving forward. Release the bad and move on with hope. And
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a cool interview. I'm happy you brought your wife. Thanks for doing that.
Yes, I know. She's probably going to take over the show. You may not hear from her today. Hey, you're going to be screaming, Dr. Ingrid, Dr. Ingrid.
We want both of you on here. You bring different perspectives. You both have,
Well, and we specialize, I would say, or at least our knowledge covers different areas. You can't always know everything about everything, right?
Absolutely. You guys bring different perspectives, and that's why I see you and I see her. I see both of you. You both have so much to give and so much knowledge, and I've been healed by both of you. So you're working right now on my shoulder, and it's incredible because I used to be a basketball player, and then I was on dance team, and so I worked my right shoulder a ton. And it was I was getting to the point where I couldn't move it at all. And so you've been adjusting me for the past 7 weeks,
soft tissue work and manipulation of your shoulder, yeah.
Yes, and it's
loosened it up, and things are working better.
Oh my gosh, it's so incredible the improvement I've had, and I'm just thankful for you doing that for me. So thank you.
Happy to be of help, Nikki.
Yes, so you do great work, and so like I said, I'm happy that we have both of you on here. It's been incredible. Let's jump into the interview.
Okay.
What do you say?
Sounds good.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us on episode 27 of Health Talk with Dr. Kell. I'm Nikki Sterner. This week, we are bringing in one of my favorite people, Dr. Ingrid Fullerton, to discuss emotions and how they affect your physical health. She thoroughly enjoys her work and has a love for people and a passion for helping those who truly want to improve their health. She is compassionate and genuinely cares about each patient that walks through her door. Dr. Fullerton attended California State University, Long Beach, and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Human Biology. In 1990, she earned her Doctorate of Chiropractic at Los Angeles College of Chiropractic. Dr. Fullerton also received her certification in Applied Clinical Nutrition from Southern California University of Health Sciences. Originally from Manhattan Beach, California, Dr. Ingrid was a gymnast for 14 years. She first showed an interest in chiropractic at the age of 12, when her coach instructed her to have a minor injury treated by a chiropractic doctor. It was not so much her own recovery that impressed her, but rather her mother's quick recovery after having suffered for years with neck and low back pain. For as long as she could remember, her mother had been treated with prescription drugs and bed rest, with no improvement. After 3 months of chiropractic care, using no medicine, her mother was helped tremendously. After graduating chiropractic college, Dr. Ingrid and her husband, Dr. Kell, also a chiropractor, opened practices in Arizona and Colorado. They relocated back to California from Colorado in 2009 with their 5 boys, 4 of whom have married and started their own families. She enjoys spending time with her family, roller skating, walking, hiking, yoga, dancing, working out, cooking, attending seminars, reading, and going to the beach. Dr. Fullerton believes in teaching and empowering her patients to achieve optimal health by guiding them in maximizing the function of their whole mind and body as they take positive steps to a healthier lifestyle. Nothing is more rewarding than seeing her patients' health and quality of life improve. I know you will love her like I do. So let's jump into the interview. Welcome to Health Talk with Dr. Kell. I'm Nikki Sterner, and today I have producer Eric here, and we're going to be interviewing Dr. Ingrid Fullerton. I'm super excited for you to meet her. She is wonderful. She's a woman of faith. She is a healer. She is an amazing person, and I'm just really looking forward to hearing more of your story. Welcome, Dr. Ingrid.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Good. Okay, so tell us just a little bit about you. Who are you, number one?
So I am actually Dr. Kell's wife of 32 years.
32 years, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
A mama of 5 sons and 2 married bonus daughters, so they're husbands as well. And of course, my four of my 5 sons have wives now, so
Wow.
we have extra
Extended family.
Exactly.
Big family.
More daughters, so don't feel sorry for me when I say
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm like,
so
5
all
boys.
those 5 boys.
I only have one boy, and I'm like, whoa.
Yep. And altogether, we have 13 grandchildren, another on the way in August.
Oh, congrats.
And
That's exciting.
Yeah, so thank you.
13?
Yeah, it'll be 14 then. Wow. So basically, our lives are full of much joy and love, and we
Family.
just are, chaotic, and it's just awesome.
Great.
It's really, that's what life's all about.
Yeah.
So, but professionally, I'm a holistic chiropractor. I'm a functional nutritionist and a mind-body specialist. And basically, I look at the body as a symphony with different parts that are interrelated with one another. Mm-hmm. So instead of just focusing on, say, the violinist, I consider the whole orchestra, making sure that one instrument isn't throwing off the sound of another. So for instance, instead of taking a patient with, say, mid-back pain and just adjusting him and kind of knocking that same nail back in the deck, and having them come back and forth, it's like,
Yeah.
something. There's something else going on here, and this is where I kind of, my whole profession changed when I started to see that very early on,
Yeah.
and I started to see that, wow, these people are stressed, or there's something going on in their lives, or something in their in their past, right? And I don't believe in past lives. Yeah. Anyways, so when we started to see that, I thought, gosh, there's an emotional component here. But I'm also looking, so basically, if I were to look at that person coming in with the mid-back pain, I'm going to dive into the underlying cause that could be coming from, say, the organs. So there's kind of the nutritional component, or the organs, which we'll talk a little bit later about, how they are interrelated even with the emotional component there.
It's funny. I'm going to interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, the lower back, because that's actually what brought me into your guys' practice was
Yeah.
my lower back was doing weird things. And I had been sitting at a desk job for like 6 months straight, like all day, every day. And my back was just starting to have weird spasms. And it was like concerning. Like I couldn't even like lean up in bed. Like I had to flip over to my side to get out of bed.
Wow.
So I came in and I met Dr. Kell, and he was working on my chiropractic, and he kept saying like, you should really see my wife. You know, she does the emotional and the nutritional aspects as well. And after I'd been seeing him probably for a couple of months, I met with you, and that really did help. That, you know, adding the nutritional supplements and then starting the emotional work too.
Kind of getting to the root cause.
Yeah, it kind of, it helped so much, because then we were able to move on, and now I'm working on my shoulder.
Right,
You know, being an
right.
ex-athlete, you have so many different
Exactly.
old injuries that come up
Exactly.
as you age. But yeah, so
It's huge.
you're talking about me,
Yeah.
lower back. I'm like, ding, 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 winner.
Yep, exactly. And so that's where we can find, hey, what's, low back can be, there's the emotional component can even be sometimes carrying too much, that kind of thing, that
Yeah.
kind of carrying the load of the world. It can be, there's so many different things that can cause different parts.
And I was having like bloating and stuff like that. So
Right.
I don't know if that was pushing on my back too, like the
remember,
organs.
That's where fixing the gut, figuring out, okay, now there's that gut-brain relationship, what's happening there. So we found, well, you can share what you would like to about
Yeah,
that,
no,
but,
plenty of issues. Yep,
yeah,
in this body.
so,
Plenty of emotional issues too.
Exactly. So that's where we're looking at the patient as a whole.
Yeah.
And really figuring out, okay, what do we need to tweak here? What's a little, maybe some lifestyle changes, maybe some,
Yeah.
some nutrition, and of course adjusting. It's basically coming to that triad of health: the structural, nutritional, emotional.
Yeah.
So I do all three of the patients in here. I do phone visits as well, where we just do the nutritional and the emotional. Obviously, I haven't figured out how to adjust over the phone yet.
That's a
but
little
yeah,
tricky.
Yeah. So,
You'll have to give me some pointers to like start
Exactly.
tapping certain areas.
exactly. So, but basically, this is my passion. I love this work so much. It's absolutely what I just feel like it's my call. It's something that I've
It is,
just
absolutely.
loved. Have so enjoyed. I've been doing this for, I think, in my 30th year, and I can honestly say I'm just as excited to be
That's
doing
incredible.
the same thing
30 years.
since day one. So
Wow.
it's just awesome. So yeah.
And you've just kind of added as you went, like, because you had first received your doctorate of chiropractic,
Right.
and then you went back and got your
And then
clinical.
and then going into, we got the nutritional certification, then started kind of, that's where I was kind of like, gosh, if I just, and that's where I was going to say, basically that's where my story kind of comes in here with,
Yeah, let's go into that.
yeah. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. So I know this sounds crazy, but age 3 is, I know I was 3 because my brother was born and I had to share a room with my sisters. And if you had a back, I would love just, well, I say massaging very loosely, because it was more like, okay, tiger claws, elephant, just.
Oh, wow,
We
little-
did silly, but I loved working on people's backs.
That's
and I
so
loved
funny.
At 3.
Oh my gosh.
So,
You were led.
exactly. So I can't say it was a massage, but it was,
Yeah.
it was, I don't know, whatever it was, patting their backs.
Yeah. Patting adjustments.
Exactly. Making my little percussive movements.
You were playing already. You were playing chiropractor.
Exactly. I didn't even know it.
Some people
right?
play house. You were playing chiropractor.
Exactly. And so then around age, 7 or 8, I had this thought in my mind that when I grow up, I want to help people, but I don't want to be a nurse. I don't know why. That came up, like, why don't I want to be a nurse? I didn't even know what a nurse did. I don't think I knew the job description
wow.
of a nurse, but I just knew I think I was trying to, there was something in me saying, you're not going to go the allopathic route. You're
traditional,
There's
yeah.
going to be something else for you. So it was probably around age 12 that I was a gymnast, and I was actually a gymnast from age 5 to 19. And I was working out under the tutelage of a Japanese coach who was 7 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day in the summer, 3-4 hours a day
gosh.
in the winter. We were just, so it's
Very disciplined.
not surprising I had a little injury, probably from whipping the bar one too many times. And he said, you do not go to an MD, you go to a DC. And my mother, was like,
funny.
okay, we'll go to a doctor of chiropractic. She didn't even know what this was.
Wow.
So he sends us to this sweet little Japanese lady, Sumi. And she helped me. My problem wasn't a big issue, but it was my mother who'd had back injury or back problems for years and years. And I just remember her constantly being given muscle relaxer and sent to bed for 2 weeks.
Oh
and
my gosh.
It was not doing the job.
Wow.
So we finally, when I saw within a matter of a few months, my mother was back to, being, not back to, I don't think I ever saw her normal, but she was actually able to live a normal life again, So
Wow.
anyways, when I saw that, I thought, wow, there's something to this chiropractic. That's really cool. And I really didn't like the idea of using drugs a lot. My parents are both immigrants from Germany.
Okay.
We didn't use a lot of drugs. They did more homeopathic things. And I remember arnica tincture being in our medicine cabinet
really?
for bruises or for sprains or whatever it was, yeah.
Oh,
So
that's neat.
So we just didn't do a lot of drugs. I don't, that wasn't our go-to, besides her muscle relaxer, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah.
So then around age 14 or 15, I can't remember how old I was, but I went to my first nutrition seminar with my mother because she was also interested in this sort of thing. And I remember learning about some of the people that in a tribal, community that were wouldn't eat sugar. They if the Westerners came over to give the kids sugar, they spit it out. I mean, it was just too sweet for them,
Wow.
And they would only eat what they could hold in their hand for, they were eating very little and so forth, and how these people, just started giving me some ideas of, I'm more interested in this, what's this nutrition about? And I started as an athlete going, if I'm eating healthy, I perform better, this is...
As a
This
gymnast.
is making some sense to me.
Yeah.
So there was kind of that there's the
Nutrition.
chiropractic nutrition, and then after I graduated and we're in out of chiropractic school, my husband and I, that's right, we met in chiropractic school. I don't think I mentioned that, but but anyways, we started to practice in Arizona, and he he kind of teased me like, oh my gosh, you spent all this time with these patients. He says, you're kind of like the chiropractic psychologist. You're listening to all their problems. And, and I said, well, and that's where I really started to see right away that emotional aspect is huge. That's a huge part of what's causing people's problems. They'd come in and say, I'm having these marital issues, or I'm having problems with my kids, or I'm stressed, or I'm, I have PTSD. I've got, at that point, I don't think we even talked about PTSD. But,
Oh, yeah.
it
Yeah, because
wasn't
that's
even
more
a
of a
term.
recent. Yeah.
But that's kind of what they were, referring to.
Yeah.
But I really didn't have the tools to help them. I didn't, besides being a listening ear and giving them whatever
Just
advice this 20-something-year-old girl could do.
You just had the desire to help.
I just wanted to help them.
Yeah.
Right. So, but they, that's where it came in a little later. I was actually at a seminar, and I remember being very skeptical about, this sort of work, actually. And even like muscle testing, kinesiology and that. And it was at a seminar that I was at that they said, okay, we're muscle testing, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's one of those. Great. Well, I'm going to see if maybe they asked if they could have a participant,
volunteer?
A little volunteer come up. I'm like, yeah, let's just see if they can figure out with my, if I've
Check
got
this
a
out.
cold or whatever. And the first thing they find is an emotional block. And I just went, oh, cripes, where's the door?
Let me out.
This is just a little embarrassing. What are they going to say? Their disclaimer. Now, whatever's talked about here is, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would share with you.
Yeah.
Well, it turns up they found that at age 19, there's a block since there was something going on. And so they said, what happened at age 19? I said, well, I was in college doing gymnastics at Long Beach State, and I had to quit because of an elbow injury.
Oh.
And also because at that point I thought, okay, it's time for me to become a doctor. I need to get moving on my career, my schooling here as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of practice there too. And so it turns out they, were muscle testing me and and asking me questions like, well, how do you feel about that? Well, yeah, it was pretty hard to quit and so forth. And it came down to, I was kind of angry at myself for having to quit, And they said, well, have you forgiven yourself? And I'm like, well, yeah, and they muscle test. It's like weak. Like,
Not.
Well, I guess not. So that's where I started to understand the conscious, subconscious brain. And that whole interrelationship that oftentimes we are not aware of things, and that's why the question comes up, well, how do I know that my injury or that my pain or chronic pain or whatever it might be is actually emotional? It's you don't until we can test those things, and that's where so many people are walking around with pain, not recognizing that there's a huge emotional component to that.
Because most people just keep moving. You go through something and you're like, oh, just tough it out, just keep going, and then you just move on. You just keep going, and you don't ever deal with it.
Yeah.
You just tuck it away, and then it stays there, and then it accumulates, and you just snowballs.
Exactly.
Bigger and bigger until you can't ignore the pain.
Right.
And then it just is there always.
That's it.
Yeah. So you slowly, through your emotional release work, you release those stuck.
Exactly. So we have what we call, sometimes these emotions get trapped inside the body, and they can, this is where we look at the body and say, okay, this is where, the whole mind-body connection, it's so powerful, because these emotions are stored not only in our brain, but in our bodily responses. And so we respond to things,
How's that?
For instance, somebody says something rude to you, and you feel kind of that sucker punch. You feel like you just got sucked in the stomach, or, whatever.
Yeah.
And so then that can start, now we're looking at our spine, it's actually, you're looking at the different components of the spine, which are innervating different parts of the body, the glands, the organs. So now you start getting this mid-back pain because your stomach's starting to hurt, and that's innervated by that component, by the thoracic spine, segment in the thoracic spine. So it's all, then they come to me for back pain, but it's not until we start addressing, hey, what happened that caused, where did this come from? There's our correlation between the two, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I know. And even as kids, you're taught to stop crying, stop feeling emotion.
Exactly.
So and you're trained.
So we're trained to shove these emotions in, and we're stuffing them until one day we erupt. Or sometimes it's basically it's coming down. I mean, this is where explaining there's the science and the physics behind emotions. Emotions have basically their neurological chemical responses, and so the whole body, this is where I was found some research from a Dr. Candace Pert.
Okay.
And she was a neuroscientist who made a breakthrough discovery in finding the opioid receptors. And basically she helped trying to find some a drug at that time for AIDS, with the receptor sites there. But she found that emotions are not simply a chemical in the brain, but rather they carry an electrochemical signal that affects the chemistry and the electricity of every cell in the body and mind. So the body's electrical or energetic state is controlled by emotions with the potential to change the state of the health of the body. Does that make sense? So basically,
again. So
basically, what she was saying was, this is her quoted. She said, "Feelings literally alter the electrical frequencies generated by our bodies, producing a nonverbal communication. You have receptors on every cell in your body. They actually are little mini electrical pumps. When the receptor is activated by a matching molecule of emotion, the receptor passes a charge into the cell, changing the cell's electrical frequency as well as its chemistry." So, so basically she's saying, it's even more than chemistry, it's also physics and vibrations. Neurotransmitters are chemicals. We have neurotransmitters are, part of the nervous system, right?
Oh, okay.
Or in the brain, they're the body has what we call neuropeptides, which are proteins that are connected to all the cells in the body as well.
Okay.
And it's basically, say you have an emotion of anxiety. That emotion has its own frequency. It's got its own, emotions are just a vibration or energy, right? And so that vibration is going to be, you know, it's going to create kind of like you would a tuning
charge?
fork.
Oh,
If I
okay.
took a tuning fork and I stuck it to a glass, that glass is going to change its energy to match the tuning fork, right? So if I have a negative trapped emotion that's, say, anxiety or whatever it might be, and it's emitting those vibration, you know, that vibrational energy of anxiety, my whole body's going to feel that anxiety.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we feel emotions in our body before we even register it in our brains.
Oh, like
So-
tightness and shoulders
Exactly.
and tension.
And so there's the other thing, you know, after COVID hit, oh man, we had so many patients coming in with neck pain and, you know, shoulder pain. I don't know what's wrong with me. You know, so, you know, I'd treat them, well, sometimes doing all three, you know,
Yeah.
chiropractically. A lot of times we had to do the emotional component as well. But giving them also a dose of hope at the end,
Yeah.
you know, helping them to recognize, you know, I think that's a big part of my practice too, is helping people recognize that I think the biggest thing comes to, you know, that they're loved. We all need to feel that love and hope. And I think that's, you know, this is where whether a patient comes in just with chiropractic or whatever it is, there's always that message that I want to give to patients that they are loved and there is hope.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That it's, you know, that we, if we don't have that, it's really hard to
Survive.
survive and make it through this, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I brought my kids in to see Dr. Ingrid over the COVID lockdown because they were kind of struggling too. And,
Yeah.
you know, I was too. And I knew I'd been working with you and Dr. Kell, and it had been helping me so much. And I could just see them just sliding into this little funk.
Right.
And Dr. Ingrid just kind of gave them that hope that you're talking about. Like you just were able to fill them with inspiration and just, you know, change their mindset, just even in the slightest way. And you empowered them to feel their emotions and you know, have a voice, and like they each had their own thing going on,
right.
and you're able to tap into each one.
I
And
think
it was
you said something too, to be empowered to feel the emotions. We need to acknowledge the emotion before it's really released, and that's the biggest part of the work here. We're trying to figure out, okay, again, we go back to that, the conscious brain, the subconscious brain. Consciously, hey, I'm fine.
right.
you
You
know,
put on the mask.
I'm doing
good.
fine. I don't have any problems. I'm good.
Yeah.
But when we start to test and find that, oh, you know, there's this emotion from age 12. You know,
Yeah.
oh gosh, I had therapy for that. I've already done. You know, it's like, well, there's still something going on there. You know,
Yeah.
and then it can go into, hey, there's just a memory or an image or something that you're still holding on to that we need to release before you're able to really let go. So I've had patients come in that could barely turn their necks, you know, and
Yeah.
after just, I haven't even touched them chiropractically yet, but we do the mind body work, and they're going, look, I can totally turn my neck again, you know,
Wow.
because we just released so much of that backed up emotional baggage,
Yeah.
you know, that was there. So, and again, like I said, there's acknowledging it. And so, you know, it's just saying, well, there it is. Sometimes even when somebody's angry, it's good to just say, I'm really angry right now. I feel really angry, you know,
Yeah.
acknowledge it. And that's where I give patients tools too, to, you know, how to kind of let go of those at home. You know, when they do come up, okay, now what do I do to release this? You know, how
Yeah.
can I let go of this while, you know, and kind of process through it?
Yeah.
Because that's really what so many of these emotions that are stuck inside, they're kind of unprocessed emotions. Again, because what do? We stuff it.
We're trained
Right?
to, yeah,
Don't cry.
Yeah.
Don't
show emotion.
Exactly.
That's weakness.
Exactly.
Whereas nowadays we're more under the mindset that vulnerability is a strength.
Exactly.
The more vulnerable you can be, the more
Yes.
human you are, and people can relate to that, and
Exactly.
that makes you strong.
Right?
Yeah,
It's empowering.
it
when
is
you-
empowering.
And when you can really look into yourself and see, okay, what is it that I need to, you know, here's the other thing with relationships. This work is amazing for interrelationship issues as well. A lot of times I have had a patient, you know, I remember a patient coming in and going, why do I have to do this for myself? It's my family that's the problem. It's like, well, we got to change the dance somewhere.
Oh, yeah. The steps aren't working.
And it's not going to be your family coming in to see me right now. So all you can do is change you.
Yeah.
And so
true.
when we start to make those changes, again, we have kind of that little vibrational energy going on here that we're passing off to people too. So
Yeah.
this is what happens is that's where this Candace Pert was talking about that too, that oftentimes she was mentioning that how we send out vibration to other people, that we broadcast and receive. So she was saying that that basically the molecules of emotion, that neuropeptide that we talked about, change the chemistry and electricity of every cell in the body and mind, but feelings literally alter the electrical frequencies generated by our bodies, producing a nonverbal communication. Just as our individual cells carry an electrical charge, so does the body as a whole. So we're familiar with the kind of vibration, one kind, like when we talk, we send a vibration through the air that someone else perceives as sound, but we're also sending out other kinds of vibrations. It's a basic law of physics that when you're close to an energy source, it has a greater effect that diminishes as you move further away. But when you're far away, there's no effect. So when we're around each other, we're feeling
Feeding off each other.
kind of, we have
almost.
those, I'm thinking about good vibrations. Yeah.
Yeah. Good vibration.
That's right. We all have, we're all vibrating energy of some sort,
Yeah.
We can have somebody walk in the room who is angry and we'll all feel it. Or you can be standing in the line or something at the store and the guy behind you is in a rush. He should have been out yesterday, and you're just like, you can just feel his energy, and all of a sudden the cashier has to turn the light on for help. And
Oh, yeah.
and you can just feel him brewing.
Yes.
And pretty soon, either you're feeling his
Anger.
or you're feeling
Hostility?
anxious now. Like you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be attacked.
Right.
So
I feel unsafe.
So we work off each other. We bounce off each other a lot. So that's a big part of it too.
Definitely in families.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's it with families. Oh my goodness, it's like we're all holding on to one big rope with different parts, and one kind of pushes us one way and another the other way. I remember learning that in a family family marriage class when I was in college, that just the dynamics of the family and how that so again now you have that going on, so we just have so many different things that can be our stressors in life that if we're not careful with how we process them in a healthy way, they get stuck. I really feel like so much disease. I mean, I have a 700-page book on different messages from the body and how the different emotions behind the maladies can be affected, and I'll read those sometimes to my patients. I think we've done that before too. And it's like, oh my gosh, did they write that for me? Right?
Yeah. Right.
Because it's like spot on. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I love how you'll take something like that we have going on, and then you'll reprogram a new belief or a new
Right.
picture or a new thought.
that goes into, yes. So we also have limiting beliefs. We have sometimes negative programs that somebody else in our childhood might have, quote unquote, programmed in a sense. Oh, you're good for nothing. You'll never get this, and or you're so slow, or you're whatever it might be that you've got from your childhood that kind of follows you into adulthood, and you can't
you tell it to
understand,
yourself.
and then you start
You keep
then you
hearing
start
it.
having your limiting beliefs, and then so many people have what's called this negative core belief that can be, more often than not, it's basically that the worst of the worst, I'm worthless. That idea of just I can't do anything right.
I'm not enough.
I'm not enough. Exactly. So many of those things that if we can remove those and install new programs in the body
Yeah.
or in that mind, our thoughts are everything. It's even just our self-talk. I'm a work in progress myself. I used to have horrible negative self-talk. And wow, what a difference it makes when you can just be your own BFF and just
Yeah.
say, oh, it's okay.
It's
No,
hard
it's
when
no
you're a
big deal.
perfectionist because
Oh.
you're so critical of yourself,
Yeah.
you know, and as an athlete, as a
recovering.
gymnast. Yeah, I'm sure you were like, and with your coach being such a
Yes.
rigid,
Yes.
you know.
That's why I finally had to quit with that coach, because he was a perfectionist. I was like, either he's going to kill me or I'm going to kill him.
All right.
Not a good match. It's too intense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know, like when we do the reprogramming, I will take and put sticky notes up
That's awesome.
in my bathroom mirror, and then I'll put it like where I have my office little section where I look in my planner
Yes.
every day.
Yeah.
And I've had to take all my notes down because we're showing our home.
Yes.
But and I do the same thing with the kids.
Yeah.
And I think that I really like seeing it every day. You really do kind of retrain yourself to believe that,
Exactly.
and it
Right.
is so helpful.
You actually have neural pathways in your brain as well. So we oftentimes have these neural pathways that go to, you know, the negative pathways that's our past, you know, all the things that, you know,
Yeah.
that we create. And we keep on, we either ruminate over the past or we worry over the future, but we're not always in the moment here.
Yeah.
And so when we can find ourselves, when we can catch ourselves, if we're ruminating over something that happened way back when and it just doesn't even matter anymore, it's how many years ago, we can actually train the brain to just say change and start creating new neural pathways. So that's the new neural pathways are what we're trying to do with the positive
Yeah.
programs that we're putting in there, so that the body's no longer going back to the old ways, but creating this new, hey, how do I want to present myself to the world?
Yeah.
How do I want to look? What does this, you know, so we do a lot of imagery too, where we've done some things that
Yeah.
that we'll do to create that new image of what you want to
Yeah.
see in your life.
Yeah.
So get rid of the old and create the new. So
Yeah.
there's so many factors to this this work that it's hard to do in just one interview
Yeah.
like this. But yeah, there's just it's
Yeah, we
really,
could go into multiple topics within this.
there's some
Yeah.
crazy lots of information. Yeah.
Eric, did you have any questions or
No,
stories that
just
you've
following along here. This is good.
followed along?
Yep.
How's your emotional health, Eric?
It's pretty stable right now. Yeah,
Getting ready for a big trip.
I am. Yeah.
You stressed out?
No.
Eric's pretty cool, calm, collect, I
Yeah,
will
he
say.
is.
I don't know how he does that. How do you do that, Eric?
I'm emotionally stable.
You have good
I'm
programming.
I'm good,
That's
yeah.
right.
Thank your parents for that.
No, yeah, definitely not.
No, we
Definitely
can't
not.
thank them.
Well, and see, there it is too, where you can overcome,
Yeah.
you know, those things when there wasn't that. You know, it doesn't need to define you, and I think that's a big part of it too, where I have to teach patients to not be the victim to their past and to be able to say, hey, let's be the victor. Let's be this, you know, let's look at this as, let's empower you,
Yeah.
so that you can move beyond that. That's not your truth. That doesn't define you. And I think that's a huge step. For some people it's easier than others, but you know,
Yeah.
it's fun to see when you can finally break through that and say, wow, that's not who I am. I'm this today.
Yeah, I can say we've had many, many breakthroughs in our sessions together.
Yeah.
That I wasn't expecting or didn't know was there. Or, you know, sometimes you know when you're off, you feel heavy, you feel like, you know, there's a big problem going on, and
Right.
you come in and you're like, yes, I'm ready. Let's face this. And other times you're like, I don't really know, you know, and then, but there's,
And then we get this really deep.
yeah, and then there's
It's
a
like,
deep
whoa.
movement, yeah, where you're like, wow. That came out of
That's
nowhere.
what's so fun about this work. I don't know any more than you do what's
Yeah.
going to come up, you know.
Coming in.
Basically, it's just, hey, let's figure out what's the subconscious trying to tell us. What's, you know, because the subconscious knows everything about your body. Basically, they say, you know, we only use 10% of our brain. Well, that's your conscious brain. The rest is subconscious. So that's a huge component. The subconscious brain knows about everything. It knows what you ate for lunch 3 weeks ago. It knows what, well, you know, because you eat the same thing.
I do the same thing every day.
I just realized that. Okay, what store you went to 3 weeks ago? But basically, it knows what we need to heal. You know,
Yeah.
we that's why I like for patients. I'll listen to a patient that says, "But I think my body's saying this," rather than, nope, I know what's wrong. It's like, hey, I'm going to listen to
yeah.
your body. Let's figure out just like Dr. Mom, you kind
Right.
of know your kids. You know when things are off.
That's
that
true,
same
yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
I'm very much about, we need to
Empower your patients.
listen to, empower
Yeah.
them so they can
Train them
do
to
it.
listen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they
you
can figure
definitely
it
do
out
that.
on their own. So I don't want people to have to hold, they shouldn't need the help all the time, but there are times when,
When they
things
do.
change in our lives, and it's
Yeah, big changes. I was thinking about Lady Gaga. I know this is random, but she went through a trauma. She was raped, I think, multiple times by a music producer when she was 19 and like kidnapped almost and held hostage.
my
and
gosh.
and she's come out and said that she's had fibromyalgia, like just
oh wow,
pain
yes,
from the trauma. And she, when they put her in a health, I don't know if it's like a mental health place when she was having issues, or treatment center, she felt the same pain that she felt when she was dropped off on a corner near her parents' house, pregnant from this man who had raped her. And she won't even say his name, but trauma is like
exactly, and that's
responsible for so much of this pain where we're
Right.
like, I don't know where it's coming from. I have this chronic pain.
exactly, and that's where sometimes it's that one simple thing that we find release, and the pain's gone. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when I first really started getting into this, I thought, this can't be. This just can't
Yeah.
be. I can't even believe the first few patients, I was like, one lady, she had horrible headaches, migraine headaches, that she'd have to take Tylenol or whatever it was she was taking every few hours. And I did the work one with her, and she said, I went to my room to go grab my Tylenol, recognize, my headache's gone. I don't
It's not
need
there.
that. And again, later, she's like, what? But what she recognized was, she goes, I never thought that, she was dealing with some issues from a divorce, that she'd had counseling over, all those things. But she said, I would never have put those emotions, I wouldn't have been able to articulate that. I didn't realize that's what I was having. So when she finally, when we found them, acknowledged them, and were able to release those, she was able to get through the pain.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Some of the
Wow.
things that come out, headaches gone, neck pain gone, gut pain, all the different things that you just, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So it's a very, our emotions are so powerful. It's a
Yeah.
huge component to our health.
Yeah.
And that's why, doing things like yoga, meditation, prayer, all those things are all really a huge part of keeping our health, mind, body, that
Yeah.
whole mind body connection healthy.
So there's like feeling your emotions, and then there's like trying to stay in that calm, nurturing place. I know in my acting class, we talk about, like feeling everything. And like if you're angry, like you said, like say I'm angry. And
Yes.
like my teacher says, like, take a bat. And like he says, like, say 50 FUs as you like hit the bed, like, to really get it out. And then you can feel it, release it, and move on, and then you're not stuck. Because
Exactly.
in acting, you have to be able to flow in and out of all your emotions. You can't block anything. The minute you
Exactly.
block it, it's like right there, and
You're
you
gonna
see it.
see it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's the same kind of thing. Like you have to be in and out of these emotions. You can't block.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
that's huge. That's one of the biggest things, the acknowledgement. And even just acknowledging, sometimes I think people come in and it's kind of like, I'm fine, I don't have anything,
Yeah.
but it's like when you can acknowledge that, hey, maybe there is a component that I could, be helped with.
I even do that sometimes in class. Like I will, like if I'm really bothered by something, I'll put on a smile and I'll like
Yes, how
laugh.
often- yeah.
Because it's easier to do that than to actually feel and show, because you feel like you're going to weigh people down, or you
Exactly.
don't want to bring the group down, but it's so much more interesting when you're honest.
Yes. This is true.
Yeah. Just even as a human being, being honest and
Yeah.
open.
I keep a box of tissues in that office, as you know, and
Yeah, right. Used many of those.
Sometimes we're crying together. It's but that's it. It's like there's no shame in feelings. I mean, they're just feelings.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. There are times when somebody might have said something or whatever it is, and you're feeling hurt by it or whatever, and it's or say anxiety even.
Yeah.
To be able to just recognize that, okay, this anxiety, it's just an emotion. So I have the choice to take it on or let it go? So what if I just breathe it out? What if I,
Yeah.
and even with anxiety, there's a typical one too of, looking at the whole, the nutritional component, the emotional component. I've had some patients with having
Yeah.
panic attacks, and it's like, okay, what's your diet been like?
Yeah, that's true, huh?
And I've got one patient that she went off sugar. She's been off sugar since I think January, and we've got her on some adrenal support because adrenals are a big part of anxiety.
Oh.
So that's the component. So I was like, were you taking your supplement? Oh, I forgot them 3 days ago. For 3 days, it's like, whoa. So she's made some huge changes, and she's doing 100% better. It's just
Wow.
amazing to see that.
Eric,
so.
can you imagine no sugar? I mean, we just finished a discussion, like a 4-part series on sugar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, if I could just quit sugar.
Yeah.
It would help so much. But I mean, I don't overdo it all the time. I just do a little bit every day.
And for
but-
most of us, a little, I'm not a purist either. You can have a little here or there. But for some people, that was like, she said
much?
she was doing ice cream every night. She was doing, it's like, it's the habits that we create,
Habits, yeah.
that's a whole nother topic in and of itself. But yeah, that's the part where, when you see those results, you just, and that's where she was saying, I now equate sugar with a panic attack. So that's what helps her stay
wow.
away from it.
Oh, yeah,
You
that gives
know?
you a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where we just, you put it all together here. And that was the other part I was going to mention as far as, Chinese medicine looks at the different glands, organs, whatnot, being affected by emotions. So you're looking at someone like the angry drunk, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
liver is kind of associated with anger. And then you see the gallbladder's more resentment, the kidneys fear. Remember Christopher Reeve's wife who died of lung cancer, and they couldn't understand why? She had no former smoking and so forth. Lungs are grief.
Oh.
So she died a year after her husband.
Oh, my
so,
gosh, you're
So when
kidding.
we start to put all those things, the adrenals, and stomach, all those things can be some of the anxiety in those things. So when you start to put all that together, then you say, oh, okay, now let's look at the emotional component to that, but let's give them the nutrients that they need to help move that along as well.
Boost those organs.
And then as a chiropractor, if they're in my office, then I'll adjust those areas as well. So
Yeah.
that's where the whole triad of health comes back in.
Yeah.
And now that I've got all of the emotional, this has just made my practice complete. I am happy
Yeah.
as a clam to be able to have. It's made a huge world of difference. It's
Yeah.
been really neat. So.
Yeah, you guys have wonderful supplements. I mean, I know I've got myself and the kids on them, and we have all just improved so much.
Yeah, it's an awesome company that we've got there. So yeah.
And I know, like, recently we've been working on my moving, because we're moving.
Yes.
And all the stress related with that. And we've moved a ton of times, like you guys have.
Yes.
And so we had a lot of different memories or emotions to remove
Yes.
with the moving, because there was certain times from, like, even when I was, in college, when I moved into a sorority house, that I had,
That's right.
these stuck emotions that it didn't go well, like
Yeah.
I've made bad choices sometimes with my moves, and
Right.
and I've struggled with that.
Yeah.
And so just
Yeah,
knowing,
it
like,
was
moving
crazy,
forward,
yeah,
it's,
that even came up, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah. I
it
was like, what?
That we found, I don't know, was that something like age 19 or
Yeah,
something?
age
And it was
19.
like,
Yep.
and I'm going, what was age 19? Oh, well, that's what it's like. Oh, gee.
Because I
imagine
knew that I shouldn't do it. It didn't feel right in my heart, but yet I was like just going along with it, thinking, okay, I'll just do it. But I think sometimes your intuition you ignore to people
Exactly.
please or do whatever. And
There's a whole nother topic.
oh yeah, people pleasing. Yeah, right.
Yep, there's
Yeah.
a whole nother one. Yep.
I feel like you're stemming off into like 18 new podcasts.
I know.
Yeah.
There's
Are we
so
taking
many
notes on this?
different things.
Got habits.
Oh,
Yeah, true.
There's all sorts of stuff that's
Yeah.
that we are truly
I mean, you've got trauma, you've got people pleasers, you've got habits, you've got
empaths.
empaths. Yeah, exactly. Taking on other
To a-
people's
this
emotions
is-
to the next level.
It's a blessing and a curse there. at times.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we need to, because I feel things so strongly. But it's great when I'm working with my patients because
Yeah.
I'm feeling, we might be doing a visualization or something. I close my eyes with you because I'm kind of in that
You're in the
picture
space.
with you. I'm in
Yeah.
that space with you, and it's
Yep.
really cool to be able to
Be
go,
that
you
in
know,
it. Yeah.
right, exactly. So, but
Exactly.
it's not cool when you
When
feel
you
other
wanna
people's
separate.
things. That, so a lot of times I have to drive home and just kind of let it go. Just
Yeah.
okay, we're not going to take that with me. It's
Right. You're like, drop
because
that.
I've actually
Forget that.
I had a very strange thing happen one time. I had a patient come in that was a kidney patient. He had a kidney transplant when he was, I believe, 17. Is that right?
Oh, wow.
And he was only, at the time, I think 34, 35, and on dialysis 10 hours a day. And I'd seen him at one, near one of our shops, at the other office that we were in. Mm-hmm. And finally one day he said, hey, I'd like to come see you professionally. And as he told me his story, because he never did when I was visiting in the shop there. And I just felt so horrible for him. I thought, my gosh, this is just terrible. Well, the next day, I don't remember when it was, I started feeling a strange pain.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, no, what? And I literally had symptoms of a kidney infection. I've never even had a
wow.
UTI in my life.
Oh, my gosh.
And then he was in and out of the hospital all the time. So he goes to the hospital for something. My other side starts up. I'm like, no,
like,
no, I can't do this, And I even had it where, I drank cold water. I felt the pain in my kidneys. It was just bizarre.
Is cold water bad for kidneys?
Yes, Chinese medicine will actually say it's no good for kidneys. Yes,
I like room
No
temperature
good,
water,
no
so I'm good.
no bueno.
No bueno.
So, anyways, a couple days later, he comes out of the hospital, and the next day, all my pain was gone.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, okay, that is crazy. So I've learned to kind of,
Separate.
shield myself from, to some degree with, but yeah. It's crazy how we can, again, that vibrational energy, and some
Yeah, that
people
we put
feel
off.
it more than others. Mm-hmm. And that's the hard part sometimes that.
Yeah,
we
the
run
gift
into.
and the curse.
Yes. But it's great for my work.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
Was there any other topics that you wanted to cover today? I feel like
I think
we've learned who you are, what your
Hit,
story
yeah.
is, and the mind-body connection. I think we went into that
Yes.
pretty well. Eric, did you have any?
I was just going to ask, so obviously the best solution is to come see you or talk to you, but for our listeners who may not be ready for that yet, or I don't know, but is there any self-help ideas that you can have to help kind of relieve some of this emotional stress that they may be going through, or, starting that path to realize this is something I need to explore more?
Yeah.
question.
So basically, it's really trying to go back, maybe even in your past, kind of acknowledging some of those things. I think that's the key word here is acknowledging, hey, my life wasn't so easy. This wasn't such a, I had some things. What have I allowed to define me? And what are some things that I've made my truth that really aren't? That wasn't my. That's false. That's a false story. We create stories, and so starting to look at some of those things, and really doing some deep diving inside. And for some, that's doable. Others just need that extra help. So that's the nice part is I can do this over the phone with people too.
Yeah.
So it's between the nutrition and the mind-body work, it can be done over the phone. Because again, we have that conscious brain that can only do so much. Just it's getting into the subconscious, which is hard for us to do ourselves. That's the big problem with that. We can get so far, but generally, just like I've had people saying, oh, I had this issue happen, but I've been through all this counseling. I've gone through I've done all these things, but there's still something there, and it's not until we really get into that nitty-gritty, that true root problem of whether it's emotions, limiting beliefs, memories, images, so many different things. I mean, we haven't even what we call idea allergies. Remember, some of those have come up.
Yep.
Where you're like
I've had
actually
those.
allergic to the idea of something, quote
Oh,
unquote
yeah.
allergic or intolerant to something, or you might be intolerant to success, or you might be some of those things that,
Places.
ideas of just the idea of it, and your body's, you kind of sabotage yourself.
You like shut down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole the upper limit issue. Some of us,
Yeah.
we don't want to break through that glass ceiling because, oh, well, this is where I'm comfortable. This is so you want to do it consciously, but you don't realize that subconsciously there's something blocking you from
Yeah.
breaking through.
So it's like finding it, removing it, and replacing
exactly.
it.
So I guess to your question, you can do so much,
Yeah.
but you kind of need that extra.
Yeah.
you
Well, and I
know,
think a lot of
help.
people are going to look at themselves and say, well, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me.
Exactly.
But maybe through meditation and asking just some of these questions you brought up today, you can realize there may be something that you need to talk about or get out there or
yeah, exactly.
explore more.
Right, exactly.
It's funny because I always tell people like, oh my gosh, I had like the perfect childhood. But I mean, I had stuff go on that,
Yeah.
you know, has come up. Like my parents got divorced, you know, all kinds of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't
That,
change,
yeah, but
you know, that's a stress for children like no other.
yeah.
You know? It's
And I think you just tell yourself like, I'm fine. And you just keep moving on. And then you have told yourself that for so long
Right.
that you're like, no, I'm good.
Right.
I'm good. And yet it's fake.
exactly.
It's that face.
And it's actually
I'm
very
fine face.
it's very validating. There are times I remember I had one patient who had bullies pick on her when she was like 12, and she's like, oh, it kind of makes me feel better that, you know, I wasn't making this up, or I was, you know, it's because we were finding you know, her results just kept coming straight to that time there, and
yeah.
she's like, gosh, that's crazy. But she says, I feel kind of validated for, you know, like,
Yeah.
okay, see, there was a problem.
Yeah.
But now we move forward and we don't live in the problem.
Yeah.
We can, my biggest thing is we see whatever's going on, we let it go, and we move forward.
Yeah.
And that's what this work is all about. It's moving forward so you can be the best
Live your best life.
of,
Yeah.
just be happy, find joy. I mean, there are times when I just feel this bliss. I just feel like, I feel so happy.
Yeah.
What's going on? And being kind of that eye of the storm, I know we've got all sorts of crazy stuff going on right now in this world,
Yeah.
but being able to still be happy and make this life a heaven on earth is such a huge component of, for me,
Yeah.
my happiness. You know, being able to look at the eternal perspective and just not just focusing just on the moment of difficulty, but being able to see the outreaching, you know, hey,
Yeah.
10 years from now or 20 years from now,
What is this here to
is this
teach
really
me?
going to matter?
Yeah.
And that's the other one. What is this here to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from people, from things?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a whole nother one again.
Yeah. Add that to the list, Eric.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, any other questions?
No, this is good. I was going to say, is there contact information you want to put out there if people want to reach out to you, or what's the best?
Yeah, I
text
think
you?
right now the best thing would probably be starting with an email. So my email is dr.ifullerton@gmail.com. And yeah.
And we can put that in
Yeah,
the
we'll put
notes.
that in those, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
definitely. And then we can put some of your articles also in the notes
Yeah,
for
certainly.
them to read.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, I really enjoyed this. I'm so
I
glad
did
that you came on the
too.
show.
Thank
We've
you
been
so much.
wanting to have Dr. Ingrid on for a long time since we started. And so we're just super excited. And, you know, we have lots of topics to cover in the future too with you.
That'd be
Because
great.
emotional health is, you know, it affects our physical health. And it's just really important to
Absolutely.
tackle that too. In the triad of health, we got
There you
nutrition,
go.
emotional, and physical, right?
There you go.
And that's what this practice is built on. So.
Yes.
Yes, I'm thankful that you shared it with everyone. And if you listeners, if you learned something today and you want to share it with your friends and family, we would love that. We're dropping our podcast every Tuesday, so please join in again. And thanks again for joining us, Dr.
thank
Ingrid
you.
and Dr. Eric.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Self-proclaimed doctor.
Dr. Eric. I love it. All right, have a great one, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.